The red dust of the frontier planet swirled across the barren plains, cutting into every corner of the tiny settlement. The sun hung low in the sky, turning the landscape a dull orange, and the wind carried a chill that no cloak could fully block. In this harsh place, every day was a struggle to survive. Water was scarce, food was rare, and life was cheap. Clara walked slowly along the dusty road, her small child, Leo, holding her hand tightly. The boy's big brown eyes scanned the empty streets as if searching for something that might not exist. Clara's stomach growled with hunger, and she brushed a hand across her long golden hair, feeling its weight. It had been her pride, her beauty, a reminder of better days. But today it felt heavy, almost useless. The small market at the center of the settlement buzzed with muted activity. A few merchants displayed canned rations and synthetic bread, but prices were high, far beyond what Clara could afford. She looked around, hoping for a kind face, a way to barter what little she had for enough to feed Leo. Her gaze fell on her hair. A sudden, desperate thought formed. She knelt in front of a merchant, pulling a strand of her hair between her fingers. I can give this for bread," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Enough for me and my son." The merchant's eyes widened. Other villagers turned to look. Some whispered, shocked. Who would give away their hair for food? It seemed like madness. Clara felt a blush rise to her cheeks. She knew it was foolish, but she didn't see another way. A rough voice interrupted the silence. "Hey, leave her hair alone." Clara looked up to see a man stepping forward from the shadow of a building. He was tall, with a worn leather coat, boots that had clearly seen hundreds of miles, and a wide-brimmed hat that shaded his sharp, observant eyes. A long strap held a small pack across his chest, and the faint glow of a mechanical device at his belt hinted at more than just a cowboy's gear. "I'll feed you," he said simply, his voice calm but firm. "Both of you. Keep your hair." "It's yours," Clara blinked. She wanted to refuse. She didn't know him. Strangers could take advantage. But the sincerity in his eyes stopped her. There was no greed there. Only a promise. Why would you do that?" she asked, her voice small. The man tipped his hat back. "Because no one should trade their body for food. My name's Jace. I travel the frontier helping where I can. Come with me. I'll show you how to survive here." Clara hesitated, then looked down at Leo, who was watching her with wide, trusting eyes. She took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, thank you." Jace. Jace led them through the twisting streets of the settlement to the edge of the plains. Along the way, he explained the basics of frontier survival. He showed her how to recognize edible plants that could grow in the harsh soil, and how to extract water from underground reservoirs using old-world tech that only a few settlers still knew how to operate. Clara listened, her mind working to absorb every detail. She realized that survival wasn't just about luck. It was about knowledge, resourcefulness, and courage. Jace moved with a quiet confidence, solving problems as they appeared, whether it was a broken supply drone or a blocked water pipe. Watching him, Clara felt a strange mix of admiration and hope. By the time they reached a small outpost beyond the settlement, the sun had dipped below the horizon. The sky turned deep purple, and the first stars of the night blinked into existence. Jace led them to a simple shelter he had built from scavenged metal and old fabric. It wasn't much, but it was safe from the wind and the wandering predators that roamed the planet at night. Inside, Jace set out a modest meal: a loaf of synthetic bread, a few packets of dried fruit, and some purified water. Clara's hands trembled as she reached for the food. Leo's eyes lit up as he tasted the bread, chewing quickly as if afraid it would disappear. "You don't have to do this," Clara said quietly, glancing at Jace. "You've already helped enough." Jace shook his head. "This is what we do for each other here. People survive together or they don't survive at all." The words sank deep into Clara's heart. She realized that the frontier was not just a place of hardship. It was a place where humanity showed its true strength, compassion, ingenuity, and courage. As they ate, a faint rumble shook the ground. Jace stood peering out the small window at the horizon. Dust clouds were rising in the distance. "A storm," he said. "And it's moving fast." Clara's heart raced. Dust storms on this planet were fierce and dangerous. They could strip flesh from bone if one was unprepared. She pulled Leo close. "What do we do?" she asked. Jace smiled faintly. "We survive. Come on, I'll show you." He led them to the outer edge of his small outpost, where he had erected a series of windbreaks and a reinforced shelter. As the storm approached, he taught Clara how to reinforce the walls with metal sheets and how to secure their supplies. Leo clung to his mother, but even he watched Jace with wide-eyed fascination as the man moved with calm efficiency. The storm hit with sudden force. Dust whipped through every gap and crack, howling like a living creature. Clara held Leo close, feeling the raw power of the planet around them. Yet inside the shelter she felt a strange sense of safety. Jace moved around them, checking their provisions and making small adjustments to keep them secure. Hours passed in tense silence. The storm raged outside, but inside Clara and Leo were warm and fed. By the time the winds began to die down, Clara felt a deep respect and gratitude for the man who had saved them. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the last gusts of wind. "I don't know how we could have survived without you," Jace shrugged. "You helped too. You stayed calm, you followed instructions, and you protected Leo. That counts for more than you think." Clara looked at Leo, who was now sleeping peacefully, exhausted from the day's events. She realized that survival was not just about food or shelter. It was about courage, trust, and connection. As the first light of dawn broke across the red plains, Clara felt a spark of hope. The frontier was harsh and unkind, but with people like Jace and with her own strength, she could face it. She ran her fingers through her hair, feeling its warmth and weight. She didn't need to give it away. She had found something far more valuable, a chance to survive and to live. Jace stepped outside, surveying the settlement that lay quiet after the storm. "The frontier isn't easy," he said, looking back at Clara, "but it's worth it. Every day you survive, you learn. Every day you help someone, you make it better." Clara nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. For the first time in weeks, she felt something she hadn't felt since her husband had died: hope. Together, they stepped out into the morning light. The wind still carrying the red dust across the plains, but no longer threatening. They were ready to face whatever the frontier would throw at them next. And somewhere deep inside, Clara knew that this was only the beginning of her journey, and of a bond that would change both their lives forever. The red dust had settled, leaving the settlement covered in a fine, rusty layer that shimmered under the morning sun. Clara stepped outside with Leo, holding his hand tightly. The storm had passed, but the frontier was never truly calm. The wind still whispered through the jagged rocks, carrying a faint warning that danger could return at any moment. Jace was already outside, inspecting the small outpost he had built. He moved with quiet purpose, checking the windbreaks, securing supplies, and scanning the horizon for any signs of trouble. Clara watched him for a moment, feeling a mix of admiration and curiosity. There was a calm confidence about him, a sense that no matter what the frontier threw their way, he could face it. "Good morning," Jace said, turning to smile at them. "Storm's gone, but we need to make sure the settlement is safe. Come on, I'll show you what to do." Clara nodded, her resolve strengthened by the events of the previous day. She had learned much from Jace already, but survival required more than knowledge. It required courage, quick thinking, and the willingness to act under pressure. She felt ready. As they moved through the settlement, they saw the aftermath of the storm. Roofs had been damaged, supply crates scattered, and a few small robots used for hauling goods had toppled over, their circuits sparking in the dust. Clara realized how fragile life was on this planet. A single storm could destroy everything if people weren't careful. Jace handed her a small toolkit and led her to a toppled robot. "We need power to the settlement," he explained. "These bots can help if we repair them. Watch closely, then you can try." Clara knelt beside the robot, feeling the strange mixture of metal and wires beneath her fingers. She followed Jace's instructions carefully, reconnecting circuits and securing panels. Leo watched from a safe distance, fascinated by the lights and sparks. After a few tense moments, the robot's eyes glowed and it beeped happily, ready to work again. "Good job," Jace said. "See? You're learning fast," Clara smiled, feeling a small surge of pride. She had feared she was useless in this harsh world, but now she realized that even small skills could make a difference. As they continued their rounds, a new threat appeared. From the edge of the settlement, a mechanical predator emerged, a mining robot left behind by a previous expedition that had malfunctioned and turned hostile. Its metal claws scraped against the ground and its sensors glowed red. The settlers panicked, retreating to their shelters, unsure how to stop it. Jace moved quickly, signaling Clara to follow him. Stay close, he said. We'll need a plan. Clara's heart pounded. She had seen such machines in stories, but never this close. It was bigger than a person, fast and relentless. Yet Jace moved with calm determination. He scanned the terrain, noting the uneven ground and scattered debris. We can trap it, he said. I'll lead it towards the ravine. You stay here and be ready to help Leo and the others. Clara hesitated. You can't do it alone. I've faced worse, Jace replied. Trust me. With that, he sprinted forward, waving his arms to draw the robot's attention. The machine charged after him, its heavy claws tearing into the ground. Clara held Leo close, her body tense as she watched. The robot was fast, but Jace was faster, darting between rocks and debris with the skill of someone who had spent a lifetime surviving on the frontier. Finally, Jace led the robot to the edge of a deep ravine. He used a small improvised EMP device to disable the robot's sensors, and it toppled over the edge with a loud crash. Clara exhaled in relief, tears pricking her eyes. She had never felt such fear nor such gratitude. Are you okay? Jace asked, returning to them. Clara nodded, still holding Leo tightly. You saved us, she said softly. We saved each other, Jace corrected. You kept Leo calm. You followed instructions. That matters as much as anything I did. The settlement slowly recovered from the storm and the robot attack. People worked together to rebuild homes, repair robots, and secure supplies. Clara helped tend to the younger children, teaching them simple survival skills she had learned from Jace. She discovered a strength within herself she hadn't known existed. Days passed, and Clara grew more confident. She learned how to manage water, grow small patches of hardy plants, and use old-world technology to improve daily life. Jace continued to mentor her, but he also gave her space to make decisions, to lead in her own way. Leo thrived under the attention and care of both Clara and Jace. One evening, as the twin sun set over the jagged horizon, Clara and Jace sat outside the shelter watching Leo play nearby. The red dust of the frontier glowed golden in the sunset, and for the first time in a long while, Clara felt at peace. You've done well, Jace said quietly, breaking the comfortable silence. Most people would have given up after the storm. You didn't. You adapted. You survived. That's what humans do best. Clara looked at him surprised. Humans, that's what you call it? He smiled. Yes, we endure. We innovate. We help each other. Even in the harshest places, even when everything seems lost. That's why we survive, why we matter. Clara nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest. It wasn't just the food or the shelter. It was the idea that she could make a difference, that she could protect Leo, that she could live with dignity even in this harsh world. Suddenly, Leo ran to them, waving a small bundle of supplies he had found among the repaired robots. Look, I helped, he shouted. His eyes sparkled with pride. Clara laughed, lifting him into her arms. Yes, you did. You're a good helper. Jace watched them, a quiet smile on his face. He had traveled across many planets, seen countless dangers, and met many people. But there was something different about Clara and Leo. They were survivors, yes, but they were also kind, courageous, and capable of hope. That combination was rare, and it gave him a sense of optimism he hadn't felt in a long time. As night fell, the settlement settled into a calm rhythm. Clara tucked Leo into a small sleeping pod, making sure he was warm and comfortable. She paused to look out at the stars, wondering what the future might hold. The frontier was dangerous, unpredictable, and unforgiving, but it was also full of opportunity. And now, she knew she wasn't alone. Jace joined her outside the pod, holding a small tray of food. Eat something, he said. You need your strength. She accepted it, and they sat together in companionable silence, sharing the simple meal. There were no grand words, no promises of fame or fortune. Just survival, friendship, and the knowledge that they could face whatever came next together. The night was quiet, save for the distant hum of frontier machinery and the occasional rustle of desert creatures. Clara felt a sense of connection to this harsh world, to the people who lived here, and to the cowboy who had saved her family. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope, not just for herself and Leo, but for the settlement, for humanity, and for the future. By morning, the outpost was thriving. Robots hummed as they carried supplies, children played under the watchful eyes of adults, and the frontier seemed just a little less threatening. Clara had learned that survival was more than just finding food or shelter. It was about courage, ingenuity, compassion, and the willingness to act in the face of danger. Jace prepared to leave on his next journey across the plains. He packed his small supplies and checked his hover horse, ready for whatever challenges awaited him. Clara watched him, feeling a mix of gratitude and admiration. "You'll be fine," he said, tipping his hat. "You have the strength to handle anything this place throws at you. And remember, you're never truly alone. People can help if you let them." Clara nodded, understanding the deeper meaning of his words. "Thank you, Jace, for everything." He smiled and rode off into the rising sun, leaving behind a trail of dust and the quiet hum of his hover horse. Clara stood with Leo, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the power of possibility. She had survived storms, mechanical threats, and desperation. She had learned from the best, and now she was ready to face the frontier. Not as a helpless widow, but as a survivor, a protector, and a human capable of making a difference. As the twin suns climbed higher, Clara brushed her long hair back, feeling its warmth and life. She didn't need to give it away for food. She had found something far more valuable: hope, courage, and the strength to endure. The frontier was harsh, but with resilience and compassion, humans could thrive even in the most unforgiving places. And Clara, with Leo at her side, was living proof. The red plains stretched endlessly before them, but for the first time, they looked like a world of opportunity, not just danger. And together, mother and son, with lessons learned from a cowboy stranger, they would face whatever came next, and survive.